So 2023 and what we know of so far in 2024 actually has a lot of exciting new Nintendo Switch games on the way, and that's really saying something considering that if you stop and look around, we've already enjoyed titles this year like Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, which is an easy 60 hours on the low end or 100 plus hours on the high end of gameplay, just doing the main story stuff, not even doing all of these side missions and content that you can get into, not to mention games like Metroid Prime Remastered, which is one of my favorite of the year, and Nintendo, quite honestly, has some of the highest Metacritic rated games of the year on the list in 2023 so far. But in today's video, I want to break down what we have to look forward to in terms of new Switch game releases, both from a first and third party perspective, and share my personal recommendations on which ones I think may be worth looking into as we get closer to their ultimate release right now. What's up, nation? Make sure you like, subscribe, and turn on your bell notification if you haven't already. And as mentioned, guys, today we are discussing all of the new Nintendo Switch games that we have to look forward to from here in 2023, and even select titles we will be talking about in 2024. And we will start it off with some first-party ones that I'm very much excited to play. And we first have to kick it off with Super Mario Bros. Wonder. This is the evolution of what I think 2D Mario needs to become. It looks like 2D Mario that you know and love, but with full creative freedom from the developers, as they just went straight up psychedelic with some of the inspiration for this game, and it looks like the limits are off whenever it comes to what you can expect to happen. We've only seen one trailer of this thing so far. I'm already more than sold on picking it up. I will be pre-ordering it and playing it day one, but it seems like we have a lot that we still need to learn about what this game will really feature in terms of power-ups. Mario turns into an elephant we see briefly in the trailer. 4-player co-op is supported, which is awesome and has been a staple in 2D Mario for quite some time now, but it's still nice to see it return here. And I love all of the extra animation work and fine details and fine tuning that went into the characters, because they look more alive and unique than ever before. And as somebody who is kind of growing more and more stale on the new Super Mario Bros. Formula, I for one am a big fan of this refresh, and it will of course be out later in October on the 20th this year. Game that's out before that is Detective Pikachu Returns, and I'm not entirely sold on this one myself yet. I want to see more from it, and when you're watching this video, we may have already seen some more at the Pokemon Presents, but I'm filming it before that. Hopefully they do a good job showcasing some more of the gameplay loop of Detective Pikachu Returns, as I'm not somebody who played it on the DS or 3DS, whichever one it came out on, and this is one for me that if it looks good enough and if it's presented right, I will be happy to pick it up. If not, I may skip it entirely, but this will be out on the Nintendo Switch on October 6th this year. WarioWare Move It is next on the list, out November 3rd. This is a micro game crazy fun fest. Just boot it up with friends and have a ridiculously fun time with as many super fast mini games as you can get through, and you want to obviously win and score the highest points, but it looks like a WarioWare game. It is nothing outside of what to expect within the franchise, and it's surprising that we're actually getting two released on the Nintendo Switch that we have today, as I would assume that this would be a one per generation type of game, but WarioWare Move It will be out again on November 3rd, 2023. Super Mario RPG is a game that I did not think we would see a full-on remake for, but here we are. Everybody was wondering and speculating online why it was never added into Nintendo Switch Online on the base tier service for the SNES, and I think that this game getting a full-on remake definitely played into Nintendo's decision around not releasing it on the service, as they were saving it for this big return. And boy, did they do a good job selling it at the most recent Nintendo Direct in June, where you just can't argue that they put a ton of love, care, and time into this remake. The textures, the graphics, every character looks like they have a whole nother level of personality to them. And if you're somebody who has nostalgia for the original, it stays true to that, but it brings it into the modern resolution that we would like to see and modern HD visuals. And I am definitely excited to see some of the classical cutscenes that have been recreated in this new graphical style. And I'm somebody who has very limited experience with the original, and honestly, this will be like a brand new RPG experience for me entirely, and it's one of the fan favorite in the Mario franchise, so cannot wait for Super Mario RPG out November 11th, 2023. Now, talk about a franchise that's getting a lot of love lately from Nintendo. It is Mario, because there's actually two more games in that universe that were revealed also at that June Nintendo Direct, and the first one is Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon, which you may remember was released on the 3DS, but it is getting a up-res HD remaster / port coming to the Nintendo Switch, and I do think that this is a very quality title to pick. As somebody who really enjoyed Luigi's Mansion 3 on the Switch, but never got hooked into the original on the GameCube, I am somebody who is a newer fan to this franchise, and I'm very excited to see Dark Moon playable on the Switch. I really just hope they don't forget the original at this point, and also give that one some love and care and port the 3DS version of that game over to the Switch as well, because I think you might as well have all three playable on the same console. But when you talk about the textures and graphical upgrades that Nintendo gave this thing, it looks really good from the trailer. It looks quite a bit better than just a simple up-res from the 3DS version, and I love to see it, but we do not have a release day for this particular one yet, other than a 2024 time slot so far. Surprisingly enough, Princess Peach will star in her own mainline Nintendo Switch game that will also be out in 2024. We don't have much information on this title at all. We got very brief snippets of what the game looks like, but I'm not entirely sure on what the gameplay progression or gameplay loop is really going to look like with this one. So yet another one that we know about, but I really still have to get sold on what this gameplay is actually going to have to offer. But I do love to see mainline Mario characters get their own installments within their own style of game, and Princess Peach is going to get hers here on the Switch in 2024. Rounding out the first party games that we know to expect, besides some rumor speculation talk that's out there, this one is officially revealed from Nintendo, but to be quite honest, we don't know when we might ever see it see the light of day. We are talking about Metroid Prime 4. This is a game that has had quite the rocky development history, to say the least. We've only gotten that initial reveal logo splash screen and nothing else since then, other than a update around 2019 when Nintendo did indeed confirm that they had to restart development of the game. There's a lot of speculation now suggesting that maybe this thing is a Switch 2 game or a cross-generational title that will see a release on both the current Switch and next-gen Switch, but we just don't know what to expect, and it does seem like we will be getting Prime 2 and 3 before this game's ultimate release. So at least if you're a Metroid fan and you're waiting for this title, like I am, you have something to play in the meantime with the drip feed releases of the existing Prime trilogy. Now next we got to talk about some third-party stuff for the Nintendo Switch, and let me tell you, there's a lot to be hyped about, and we will fly through some of these on the list, but you have games like Persona 5 Tactica. I personally am not somebody who is into the Persona universe, so this one for me I may or may not pick up. It just seems like it might be too much of a time commitment for me to pick up a spin-off Persona title when I still need to play through the mainline series, but it's essentially the Persona characters in a more cutesy art style. Tactica, which is in the title, it's a strategy RPG, so get ready to enjoy that one out in November this year. Baten Kaidos or Baten Kaidos, not sure how you say it, 1 and 2 HD remaster is headed to the Switch, and this is a game that does look interesting. If you were somebody who enjoyed the originals back on the GameCube, this is a HD remaster of both of them in one convenient package, and it is out on September 14th this year. And this falls into the section for me that I'm going to keep my eye on it, but it's not a planned day one pickup at this point in time for me personally. One game that is an absolute day one pickup for me that I will be picking up for the Switch is none other than Metal Gear Solid Master Collection Volume 1. I personally love that this collection is coming to the Nintendo Switch because we didn't get immediate confirmation that it was supported for the Switch, but it's the perfect console for it to head to in my opinion, because these are the type of games that nowadays you might want to pick up and take on the go with you, and it includes the original Metal Gear, Metal Gear 2 Solid Snake, Metal Gear Solid including VR missions and special missions, Metal Gear Solid 2 Sons of Liberty HD version, Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater HD version, and Metal Gear from NES, Snake's Revenge. It has so many cool additional digital art books that are supported, and it's really going to be the thing for a lifelong Metal Gear fan to pick up. I am somebody who needs to get more immersed in this series, but I have had my eye on it over all the years and have some friends who are incredibly immersed into the story and what it has to offer, so it's time for me to pick it up on my Switch. I can't wait for this to come out on October 24th, 2023. Sonic Superstars is headed to the Switch later this year, and it's right around the same time as Super Mario Bros. Wonder, which they are both looking to be excellent 2D platformers, but Sonic Superstars for me is also a must-buy because it does the same thing that Super Mario Bros. Wonder does, which is bring the classic 2D Sonic formula that you know and love from back in the day into the modern era with modern visuals and that same 4-player co-op mechanic supported. I am entirely sold on this game based off the presentation that we've seen so far in a couple different trailers that Sega has released, and I personally couldn't be a bigger fan of seeing Sonic get this treatment as somebody who grew up playing all of the classic games and honestly enjoying those the most compared to the most recent 3D counterparts. So it's a day one buy for me. I do think we'll see more of this game leading into its ultimate release. And while Sega hasn't officially confirmed the release timing, and maybe it will change, I believe it's 2 days before Super Mario Bros. Wonder. So Sonic and Mario are back in a head-to-head battle, just like in the Sega Genesis and SNES days, and I'm here for it. Super Bomberman R2 is also headed to the Nintendo Switch this year, and you might remember we got a Bomberman game right around the release of the Nintendo Switch. All these years later, we are getting yet another edition, and if you know what to expect from a Bomberman game, I mean, it's Bomberman. Nothing seems overly inventive here compared to what we've seen in the past, but it does just look like more of the fun, chaotic Bomberman frenzy that you may know and love over all of the years. And this is hitting the Switch on September 13th this year. Another one on my list of games to pick up, and hopefully it lives up to the hype. Mortal Kombat 1 is set to get a release in 2023 on the current gen consoles, being the PS5 and Xbox Series X and S. And surprisingly, Nintendo is also in this conversation because we are getting a version, although we haven't seen what it looks like yet, on the Switch, and that's great news. I do think that Mortal Kombat 11 is one of the more technically impressive ports for the Nintendo Switch, so considering that this same team is likely behind the port for Mortal Kombat 1, I do think we can expect good things from this, and I love to see the Mortal Kombat franchise get its true up reboot, start over from the ground up. This is number one, and we are going to get this title on the Switch on September 14th, 2023. Dragon Quest Monsters is headed to the Switch, and it does look very good. I am historically not somebody who has played through the Dragon Quest series, and there's a lot of different games out there, but it might be one you're looking forward to if you are a fan of the franchise. Then you also have Star Ocean: The Second Story R, which is one that I'm seeing a ton of hype around online from Star Ocean fans. I have not played it myself. It looks excellent in terms of the style and direction that they went graphically with this game, and I will be excited to check it out on the Switch later this year. A game that may have a very hard time being ported to the Switch, as it was supposed to come out in June of 2023, but is now scheduled for that, I believe, November time slot, is Hogwarts Legacy. This game seems like it's going to be very hard to pull off on the current Nintendo hardware we have today, and that's no doubt why we saw the delay hit the title, and we will have to wait and see whether or not this happens at all, or better yet, if it is even something that is fully playable and enjoyable in the ways that the developers want it to be for the Switch version. I definitely think this is the type of game we could absolutely say needs more powerful hardware to run correctly, but we will have to wait until we ultimately get a build of the game on the Nintendo hardware shown to us in full detail, because I don't believe that that is out there yet. But this one will be worth keeping your eyes on, assuming we get it in a quality playable state later on this year. Sea of Stars looks like an excellent turn-based RPG. It's one I don't know much about, but it will be on my radar as we get closer to its launch later this year. Bomb Rush Cyberpunk is a spiritual successor to the Jet Set radio games, which I am a huge fan of, and it is getting a Switch version this year. Blasphemous II is a Metroidvania style game that I think does it really well, has some elements of Dark Souls inspiration in there. I have yet to beat the first game, but I'm entirely sold on the gameplay, the mechanics, and the progression as you go along, and I do hope for good things from Blasphemous II when it is out. And closing out our list of third-party games, Batman Arkham Trilogy. These are games that belong on the Switch. It is going to be excellent to have the ability to play these PS3 and even one PS4 classics, but have the option to take them with you portably. And if you're a fan of any of the Arkham games at all, this should absolutely be on your radar for release later this year. But I really want to hear from you guys at this point in the video, your personal thoughts and opinions on the rest of the 2023 and even some 2024 games for the Nintendo Switch, and which ones have your interest piqued, which ones do you plan on buying, and which ones are you potentially skipping, and which ones that were not on today's list would you recommend for me to look into so maybe I can enjoy them when they do come out. But regardless of your thoughts and feelings on everything we talked about today, I do look forward to hearing from you all in the comments down below before we leave the video, as I do look forward to getting a back and forth conversation started with you all around these topics. Go watch yesterday's video next if you haven't already, which is on screen right now. Also make sure you like, subscribe, turn on your notification bell, and I will see you guys in the next video.